Hey everyone, we hope that you all are well. We want to say welcome to Jump In. I am Raymond Sharp, and this is my lovely wife,
Tanesha Sharp.
and we're here to jump in. Thank you so much for joining us to Jump In. This is our time of reflection. We want to help you all overcome the challenges that you have in your life, your family, your relationships, and also we want to encourage you to go to the next level. And many times to do that, you need to jump in. Sometimes we're waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect situation, everything to line up for us. But sometimes we just got to step out and do it. And we want to give you that subtle nudge, sometimes a push to jump in, stay in, and go to the next level in all that you do. And we're very excited to have you all with us. And today, we're going to continue. We've been on relationship tips and talk here the last few episodes. We want to continue with that. And relationships are something that's very near and dear to us as we get older. And even we're seeing it now with our kids. Our daughter, excuse me, our daughter, she's and son, they're interested and they have taking a liking to certain people in this, as being a parent and understanding the impact that relationships can have on kids. We want to encourage you all to kind of keep your eye on your children. Don't say, oh, they're too young for this, they're too young for that, they don't understand this, they don't understand that. Your children understand a lot more about relationships than you do. They have their eyes and ears open in regards to relationship. You want to make sure that you are who they're learning from and not the streets. And sometimes we hear that, and I'm telling you, parents, we got to be watchful. We got to kind of be in their business, and not in their business to be nosy, but be in their business to help them. And we want to talk about that today.
And I mean, really being a good example. I think we've tried to be a good example when it comes to relationships for our kids, so they know or have an idea what healthy relationships look like. So we don't need to have a healthy relationship just for us. We need to have a healthy relationship for our kids.
Absolutely.
So when they are choosing or want to decide who they should marry or be in a long-term relationship with, they have a good idea of, what's healthy and what's not healthy, if that makes sense.
It's kind of like framing what's normal and framing what's allowable and what is not allowable in a relationship. And I'm telling you, kids are sponges. And one of my favorite things, I take my...
And they watch us.
Yes, they do. I take my middle schoolers to school every day. And I love their questions. They ask me about relationship. Let me tell you what my friend did. Let me tell you what my friend said. And are they right? Or I'm like, look, first of all, you need to stay out of that, but at the same time, I try to give them good examples and say, hey, look, give them a teachable moment for it. This is how you're supposed to handle that situation. And if your friend asks you, you might want to tell them this, provide some guidance, give them something that they can take and walk away with that can benefit their friends. Because sadly, we're doing this video because we know for a fact that parents are not talking to their children about relationships, especially their younger kids. And you have to, what we adopted, I'm gonna say what worked for us is we started early talking to our kids about relationships.
Like pre-K.
Yeah. And because, my son came home one day, he thought a girl was cute. I'm like, okay, here we go,
Let's go.
And it wasn't, I didn't have a graphic conversation with him. It wasn't on the adult level. It was on a level he could understand. And one thing I told my son, I said, hey, it's cool that you like girls. I said, you make sure that you respect her boundaries. You don't touch her. She don't touch you. Just framing things. Respect her space. I said, and that's cool, son. I'm glad you like her. That's all right.
They just need to know what to do with what they're feeling.
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing. A lot of us, we didn't know what to do with what we were feeling, so we just did whatever what we saw on TV or what we see our friends do. But you have this opportunity to groom your children and your preteens or teenagers and help them maneuver through all this relationship stuff, because that's a lot what's going on in their minds most of the time is relationships.
And even if you look at like TV shows and media, it's marketed to our children. They they consume it, and they're looking, and you don't want them. And sometimes when we're watching certain things, and it's certain types of things I do not like watching. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. and some of the things that my daughter loves to watch, I'm just like, God, man, Okay. But my thing is,
it's teachable moments.
it's even in this, and say, hey, baby, it doesn't always work out like that, you know. And you know how that person handled that, you know, they're wrong for that. They should have did that. She's like, yeah, I don't like her. I said, well, you know, it's not about you liking her. You don't like her decisions, because some people are good people. They just make bad decisions. And so we talk about that. So
there's so many layers, so much stuff you can find, even in the stuff that you like you said, you may not want to watch on TV with your children. But if they're interested in they're curious about the topics, because some of these things, they have really good topics, and they're really good talking moments and teachable moments where you can pull from that and say, hey, because a lot of times, even what we do, we pause a movie and we say, hey, let's talk about this part.
Yeah, we just did that.
We did that yesterday.
Yesterday with a TV show.
Yeah, with a TV show.
We
you was like, hold on, pause this. All right, let's talk. You know, and we do that with our children too, and we find ways to take what they're interested in and what they're watching and make it a teachable moment, and really bring a balance too, because you can't be one-sided. You can't be like, oh, you know, bringing, you know, being practical and just bringing balance to every situation. But there are some really good moments that we've had with our kids, because sometimes you don't know how to bring stuff up, and shows kind of illustrate it and really paint the good picture for you to really, like, you know, really discuss about, well, you know, you see everything, and really showing them what they didn't see. Well, you didn't see how he did this, did you? You know, and so that's where they are. And, you know, we just try to help them maneuver through those things, because I didn't really know how to maneuver through, you know, even, you know, breakups, and, you know, what do we do when the guy doesn't like you or the woman doesn't like you, and how do we bounce back, and how do we, or some of the stuff that we see is when somebody likes somebody else and wants you to be their friend and stuff like that. So how to deal with stuff when it doesn't, you know, always work out the way you want them to work out.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things, parents, I'm going to say, and I've shared this in part before, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper right now. I worked in higher education for, I want to say 11 and a half years. I've worked, one of the programs I worked for was with middle school students and high school students, along with college students as well. I'm going to tell you, we are not doing a good job, and I'm saying we, of preparing as a whole, as a community of parents, are not doing a good job of preparing our kids for the real world. We have to do a better job of giving our children space and time to speak with us about some of the things that they are going through, some of the things that they're experiencing. And one of the biggest disservices we can do to our children is going nuclear on them when they are telling us they're going through something that we don't want to hear or we don't like. We have to be cool. We can't shut down on our kids, because the biggest thing is they're coming to you, they say, hey, I did this, I'm thinking about doing that, I'm feeling like this or that. And if you go nuclear, if you blow up the situation, they're not going to feel comfortable coming back to you. Even as adults, there are certain people we don't go talk to. Like, some people don't even feel comfortable going to their supervisors, because we don't want it to reflect negatively and say, hey, I made a big mistake. Can you help me fix it? Yeah. And it's on a practical level. We have to practice that with one another, and we have to practice that with our children as well. And the thing is, you know, you don't want to leave a child.
I
Yeah, you don't want to leave a child in a place where they are raising themselves and figuring things out. I think it's a horrible thing when you turn a child over to figure things out on their own in regards to something. They're coming to you, they're trying to get the courage to come talk to you, and you either shoo them away like it's no big deal, or you shouldn't even. I think the most dangerous thing is saying, that's nothing.
Yeah, but to them
it's everything. Or you say, well, you shouldn't even be feeling like that, you shouldn't be thinking like that. You know, don't shoot them away with just that, because
they're here. They're here.
Yeah.
And so you can't expect them to, with all the life lessons that you've learned, they haven't learned them yet. So they don't have the perspective that you have. So it's easy for you to just blow it off, but it's not easy for them, you know, because they're still learning and going through it for the first time sometimes. And, you know, they're looking for some direction. I know with us, we give out, hey, well, you can do X, Y, or Z. You know, I wouldn't do X because this isn't this, but you have Y and Z. And you can, I mean, that's still allowing them to have their own choice, but you do it in a way where it makes sense to them. to where they're just not making a choice that you want them to make. They're making a choice because it is the right choice, and that's the true outcome that they want. So you find out what's the outcome that they want and try to lead them in that direction in the right way, and explaining why not to do it the wrong way because of the consequences that they probably don't see.
Now let me tell you this,
and that's what's going to help shape them.
I'm gonna tell you this. One of the things that it's good for your kids to come talk to you, because if you read the situation correctly, and we talk about reading the room sometimes, you would see and you will understand and get to the root of what's really going on. Sometimes
if you let them talk long enough.
Yes, I ask my kids, okay, so why do you think that's a good decision? And I just want to see how they think, I try to teach my children how to think through situations, not rationalize it, but actually think through. Okay, is this a good decision? Okay, why is this a good decision?
Not tomorrow.
What has mom and dad taught me? Okay, what could be the consequences for me doing this, and weighing all the options.
And like 5 years from now, how is this going to affect me?
Making the right decision. So it gives you exposure and opportunity to understand what your children are thinking, what they're going through, and how they're processing information. And that's very, very important. And that'll teach you how to help them, because if there's something in their line of thinking that's off, instead of saying, you just out here making bad decisions, okay, why? Don't get upset with the end result. It started somewhere, and you want to track back to where the decision and the process of thinking may have gone awry.
And just be grateful that that they were about to make that bad decision. Like, you can catch it before they do, and not making them feel bad about that. It's like, but what if we did it like this? Or what if helping them think, or giving them another angle to look at it, giving them perspective. And I think if you do it like that, it doesn't seem so, you're trying to control them, whatever. At the end of the day, we got to prepare them for the real world. They're going to have to have different perspectives and different ways of looking at things, and they need to learn now how to do that. They have to understand, like what we're trying to show our kids, you have to understand that there are so many angles to look at this thing. And we're showing them all the different angles and different ways that they can look at it, so they can really understand what type of decisions that they need to make based off of perspective.
And another thing too, you want to arm your children with as much good information and good examples as possible, because, the sad thing is, and the good thing too, because it's good in one hand, on the other hand, it's not good. Sometimes we get upset with our children, and some of our issues are with our children because we're looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And
that's the truth.
One thing my mom got me one day real good. She was like, because I would talk to her about one of my sons. I was like, Mama, he da-da-da-da-da. And it wasn't nothing bad. It was just like, I said, he thinks like this. He does da-da-da-da-da-da. She said, welcome to my world. I was like, oh. I said, okay. Duly noted. And every night I get a comment from somebody that knows me well, that sees my son, I wouldn't say which one. It's my older son. They're like,
just like him.
Raymond, that?
Just like
remember you did that? I was like, yep, I sure did. Think like this.
Even the opportunities that he's getting at school and things that he's been doing, that people have been pulling, him to do certain things. Like you were offered those same things. People see the same things in him. Yeah. And don't even really know you like that. It's just. Yeah. So he's a reflection of you. So
even with relating things to your children, what were you thinking? And I think we have to do a better job of remembering what we were thinking at that age. What were we doing? What was our motivations? And our children it's like you 2.0. So it's like it's an upgrade. So basically we want to help take them to the next level. So some of the same things that we did, or some of the mistakes we made, we won't make them. And I'm there's certain things that I know that's inherent, that I was thinking, that if I see it similar, I'm doing, a lot of work to kind of like, hey son, be aware of this, be aware of that. He's like, oh, okay. Things that I didn't see that way until it was too late. So please, take that time with your kids. Don't shoot them away. Don't never be too busy with your children. Even if it requires you to take a day off and say, hey kids, no phones, no TV, no video games, no nothing. It's us. Let's go do something. One of my favorite things to do now is go hiking. I was introduced to it about a year and a half ago, about a year ago. year and a half. And that's something me and my boys, we love to do. I know their phones don't work out there. So we can just hang out, just me and my boys, and talk. And I'm very thankful for those moments and opportunities. And take that time, find something to do with your children where they can be around you, be in your space. You can ask them questions, and there's nowhere for them to run to.
And another thing we have to think of too, and it's something what you said earlier kind of made me think about this, is that, you know, when we were their age and the things that we did, can you imagine having social media with that? Can you imagine having cell phones and text messages? Can you imagine having video cameras at any point and any time in school? So if anybody made fun of you or did anything, it could be recorded. You know, the pressures of just how things are today, like, you know, it's so different. So really, you know, take time to kind of find out what's going on with them, and, you know, and really hear and understand what they're saying, because it's different. It's you and what you used to deal with
Magnified
with all this other stuff that's happening in the world. I mean, even with the pandemic, I mean, they're dealing with so much more stuff than we I mean, if we could be honest.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to make sure that they are okay. That we are really.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but even going back to what you're saying, even on a more practical level, they're dealing with online predators. They're dealing with sexual predators.
They can't even go outside and play for hours without, you know.
Yeah, not even that. I'm just talking about like online people creating fake accounts, inboxing. You know, you're so
even
much.
I heard there was someone who created a fake account with one of the kids and portraying her to say and do certain things, and she actually got arrested.
I remember that.
Got arrested. I mean, I would never. I mean, how do you even? I don't even want to ever imagine having to go through something like that as a young girl. You know, so it's some real stuff that our kids ain't even probably telling us about. And you got to be able to handle it when they tell you, like poker face, like, oh, okay, like be cool. Like, I'm always trying to be cool. My kids tell me stuff, you know, and not make it seem like it's such a big deal. You know what I'm saying? In a sense of like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. You know, you can't do, like, being so quick to correct and you know, just sitting back with, oh, okay, for real. Like you said before. You know, I said, well, why would you do that? Why would you make that decision? And just really understand their line of thinking and what's going on with them, and just really being cool. And then, you know, we'll get in the room together. Like, baby. You know, but in front of them, you can't act like you can't handle it. You can't act like it's just like. You know, because sometimes they might just be getting just into the story. They haven't even gotten to the part that they really want to tell you. But because you can't handle that part of it, they're going to be like, well, let me just stop here, because she's already went to the left and I haven't even finished. Because sometimes it's in you allowing them to finish what they have to say or what's going on where you find out what's really going on. And we always talk about going deep into finding out the root of every issue, and to find out what's really, really going on. And eventually, as they talk it out, it's helping them. It's almost therapeutic for them to talk it out, because then they'll realize, oh, I'm jealous. Oh, I have this going on. Oh, I think, you know, they'll see what the real issue is. And it's really helpful for them to get it all out. And then, you know, maybe an hour or two later, come back and address the conversation when you have thought about it. And really are ready to give them perspective about what it is that they're going through. So you may have to step away from it. You know, we talk about it like, oh, okay, and let them vent, let them get it all out. And then, you know, a few hours later, just say, hey, you know, I know we talked earlier about this thing. You know, I was thinking, you know, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? Because at the end of the day, we're raising this next generation. We want them to be healthy and whole. And we have a big, we can't reach everyone's children, just like y'all can't reach. You know, if we are responsible for our kids and do the best we can do in our household, you know, the world can be so much better. You know, with this next generation, we have the wisdom, we have perspective. You know, there's things within us that we really can give and serve to our children. and make their lives a lot more better and help them better understand the world. And we just want to encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what this is
Yeah.
mostly about, because they're gonna be in relationships, and as adults, if you don't want to deal with, your daughter-in-law or son-in-law that you may not, may not like or may not agree with, can ask yourself, did you do a good enough job explaining to them about toxic relationships as they got older? Did you do a good enough job explaining, and also, did you do a good enough job being an example?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can say all day long what they should do, but if they see you doing whatever, and then you're trying to tell them how to look at things. However, if you are wrong, this is a good opportunity to correct it. Say, yeah, I know you've seen me doing this in the past. I know you saw that, and that was not right.
Mm-hmm.
Not being above, your own correction and correcting what you did wrong. So I just think that's important.
Yeah, I'm gonna share this with you. Like I mentioned, I worked in higher ed, and to me, some of the most heartbreaking conversations I've had with students was, they would get in trouble for something, and every now and then we get in conversation, they bring up their parents, and there was like, and the thing that hurt me for their parents is children calling their parents hypocrites. Kids saying that, I'm not gonna get into. That was the biggest thing I want to share with you is kids calling their parents hypocrites, because I can't even ask them, have you talked to your parents? I can't talk to my parents because they did. I'm like, dang, okay.
Or they feel like their parents are out of touch because
they don't understand, they don't listen to me. I've been telling this for years, but they just don't get it. And listen to your kids, take time for them, and just ask questions. And it says, hey, don't say, well, I had to deal with that when I was growing up, but I don't know what's wrong with this new generation. And in some regard, parents are what's wrong with this new generation, because we are willingly being out of touch. We're willingly not trying to connect and engage. We're doing things on purpose to push them away because we're too busy and we don't want to be bothered. And we have to change that mindset. And then we can't do absentee parenting and then come back when it's time for the kids to go to college and then question everything they did. No, you need to question yourself, because they're a reflection of you and what you put into them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, I hope this was helpful. I hope you can hear our hearts in this whole conversation, that you really are evaluating and excited about, from this point on, doing some things differently. Because the one thing that you don't want to happen is your children to feel uncomfortable talking about certain things with you.
Yeah.
They shouldn't feel uncomfortable. Now, they shouldn't feel like your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
But you should be able to talk about relationships with them without them being like, I don't feel comfortable talking to you. And just letting them know, I'm not trying to be in your business in the sense of controlling you. I just want to help you maneuver through, because I remember being your age.
Yeah.
And just be relatable and just be honest, be transparent. And, as far as will be appropriate to according to the age.
Yeah.
But your children, they want the real, they want the truth. They want you to be honest with them.
Yeah.
And, do the best you can to be honest with them, so they don't feel like they're different or they're alone.
I want to say this too, just something that just kind of caught my mind, and I know we're about to wrap up. Mm-hmm. One of my closest friends, I was so impressed with his parents and like what he could share with his parents. And I just look at them like, wow, I wish I could talk to my mom and dad like that. I really, when I was young, I would,
without judging.
Without, they were like, hey, what's going on? I know y'all, and you might be feeling this, feeling that, into this, into that. They used to talk to him real, like, I was like real shocked at how candid and how, transparent they were with their children. Like, yeah, I remember when I did that. I'm like, oh my God. And it's like stuff that, you have a certain view of your parents, and with them, I was just like, man, your parents they're like, oh yeah, man, they always like that. He said, we do that every Sunday. We sit down and like, they run down everything, as far as what we're going through, what we're thinking, what we're experiencing, who we're into, who we're not into, and why. And they just broke it down. And, he has an awesome relationship with his parents. And I liked being around them because I was able to like pick up on a few things that like, man, okay, maybe I need to do, what I'm saying? And so kids are seeking, they want that.
They do.
And you just got to be willing to provide it in wisdom, because they were very wise as far as how they went about connected and how, and they set a time. They said the expectation was on these Sundays, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about XYZ. They knew it was coming. They knew that that time and space was designated for them to unload on their parents as far as everything that was going on. They knew they could be honest without any form of, repercussion or getting in trouble. It was just a safe space for them to share. Their parents understood what their kids were going through and they moved accordingly. So even if you don't decide to do it like that, just make sure you're creating some time and space for your children, because it does make a difference.
And we're not saying don't discipline your kids. We're saying the first point of discussion is to help them to understand. Now, if they understand and they're still doing, then that's okay. We get into punishment or we get into other stuff then. But in the beginning, they still need to have understanding and perspective.
Yeah, because some kids don't understand.
They just don't understand.
They don't know how the ramifications of certain decisions that they make,
So I hope this helped.
Yeah, me too.
I enjoyed this one.
Oh, yeah, me too.
All right. Well, until next time, we want you to what?
Jump in.
Have a wonderful day.
Y'all take care.
Bye.